Hi, my name is Derek Seals. We're coming to you live right here in a classroom form setting, dealing with architectural ruler on scales. If you have looked at my last few videos, they went over measuring rulers and measuring tape. You need to master that because we're progressing now. Now we're getting into the point where you're going to be dealing with the scale ruler. Not everyone is proficient at the scale ruler. It's sometimes almost become obsolete. They got a lot of little gadgets now that they can run across a piece of paper and tell you the measurement. They find it to be so easy. Well, I'm old school. That battery break or goes dead, they wish they had this. All that's required for you is keep it in a briefcase, along with your other, drawing utensils or whatnot. Because I do draw. I fiddle around with drawing plans myself for small projects. I am not no architect, and I'm a novice or an intermediate draftsman. Let's put it that way to you. I can read blueprints proficiently, and you cannot read a set of blueprints proficiently if you don't know how to use a measuring tape or a measuring ruler, or even at point a structural scale, especially an architectural ruler. This is what we're going over today. Hi, my name is Derek Seals, here again as your instructor for the Master Carpenter class to get you prepped and get you ready to go out and build. Knock down some walls, hammer some things up, cut, measure, yell out and call out a size. Hey, I need a 2x2, a 2x4, a 2x6, 2x8, 2 feet, 9 1/4 inches, 10 foot, 3 7/8, 8 foot, 9 3/16. When you can hear call out numbers like that, and you know where you can find those numbers on your measuring tape, you're proficient. Reading blueprints, whether it's on a grid pad, whether it's on paper, as old school, they still have to keep a set of working drawings in the superintendent's shack or his office. They will always be there. Contractors now, foremen, they're using grids, they're using iPads, different technology to scroll through. But I can tell you one thing, it's nothing like a set of blueprints where you could pull out right there on a table and go over it actual real time. Because a little pad is small, you might have 3 or 4 guys around you and you're trying to explain something. So pay attention, okay? Let's pay attention. We want you to get used to knowing how to read the scale ruler, okay? Very important for you to learn how to read this thing, because what it does is like 12 different sizes on here, okay? You may not be able to see it as well, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over how it's read. You have 1/4 of an inch at the top, okay? And it runs this way when you read. On this end, you have 1/8 of an inch, and it reads this way. At the bottom of this ruler, you also have a 1 inch, and it reads this way. You have a 1/2 inch on this side, and it reads that way. So each side has 2 measuring rules to it. Flip it back over on this side, it says triangular. You have your 3/32 that's running this way. You also have your 3/16 that's running this way. You have your 16-inch, 12. You got your regular 12-inch ruler, which is in 15/16, 16/16 equaling 1 inch, and it runs this way. There's nothing else running back that way with the 16 scale. Okay, we flip it on this side. You have 3/8. It runs this way. You have 3/4 running this way, still on the top. Now we go to the bottom. You have 1.5 inches running along this way. Then you have 3-inch scale running back that way. It can be confusing. So I'm taking you through the steps so it won't be so confusing. And you'll be able to know what's going on. You'll be able to master it. It does take time with this. We're going to just spend this 1 hour with you so you can grasp it. If we do it under an hour, that's the class time, okay? I have 3 examples set here on my board. As you can see, I do have A, B, and C, as you can see here. And you're going to have an exercise that you're going to have to do that's on this side. Okay? So, with that being said, we want to work this, and we want you to be able to work it as well. Now, the key to the scale ruler is paying attention basically to the little lines here. There's so many of them bunched up. This is what confuses everybody. The little lines here. When you see these lines, these markings, that is the starting point of that scale. My starting point for my first scale is 1/4 inch. Okay? All these lines bunched up right here is identifiable for the 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. The 1/4 inch equaling 1 foot. So you see you have 0, okay? That is actually the starting point. You have 29, okay? But then if you see how it jumps to 88 here, that is because these short lines here represent a scale going in a different direction. It's actually going from this side back that way. And its little lines is on the opposite side, just like these lines here. Except they are at a different length when you're reading this 1/4 inch. So reading that 1/4 inch, that scale is a 1/8 inch scale. From here to here, from here to here, 1/8 equals a foot. 1/8. But we're focusing on the 1/4. Once you get the 1/4, the half, the 3/4, you can pretty much learn the gist of the calculating and how you're going to measure. And I want to take you through that. There is one I want to take you through, which is also the 3/16 scale. But I think this is sufficient for now. But I may, in the next video, I may post that 3/16. But the concept is still going to be the same. So no fear in reading this. But let me break this down for you here. Very important that you see these numbers, or these lines, shall I say. They're very small, very tiny. And on that scale, when you read the scale, you're almost going to have your magnifying glass to blow it up. And if you wear glasses already because of your vision, you keep your glasses on and maybe put something else in front of you to actually enhance it. But there is one line here that starts off letting you know that this 1/4 inch is actually starting from this line. It's the drop line. It's the lowest line. On the other side of the 8, it will be this line, the small line. So it will not protrude further than this. The biggest line is where that size of these numbers is coming from that's dropped down. The shortest line that's dropped down is going the opposite direction. So when you're reading a 1/4 inch ruler on the scale architect ruler, let's go with the first one, okay? So this is going to also represent a foot. So 0 starting point off as, that's like hooking or butting. You would actually take this line here and go and use and start the measuring. These lines here are special because what it does, it breaks down from 0 to 1 to 2. Oh, check this out. They're not going to always have numbers. You see this space right here? The line is still at the same length as this line here. That line there. This line here. This line here. We're going from 0 to 6 1/4 inch, which would be 6 feet. Okay? We're dealing with feet. These are the inches you're breaking down. So if you ever have to shift and a wall or something that you're measuring does not fit in between the 0, the 6, or wherever you're measuring, or the 8 or the 9, and it takes a little bit more, then you're going to have to use this, which means you're going to have to take your 0, move it over so you can inquire this into the plan. Let's show you how these inch numbers help you determine the length. Okay? So, and you will know that from the example, I have A here. So A is telling you on this line, let's go over it. Let's do the 1/4 inch. 0, 1, 2, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet. This is footage. These are not inch marks. The 1/4 inch is being broken down to equal 1 foot. I gave that understanding in another video, the last video, and I did it with a basic ruler. If you watch that video, then you will also understand the 1/4 inch equaling a foot, how I broke that down in that video. I'm here to break it down for the inch factor here. So, with that being said, from 0 back this way, you can also count your inches, okay? In between, you have a line here. You have a longer line here, just like the ruler. How it broken up into 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, because how the lines was going longer. Some were medium length, some were at a small length, some were at a tiny length. And you have to break that down. I'm breaking this down for you here first. This one and this one. Before we get into the real minute, small, tiny ones. Because they hold a value too in inches. Always remember that between here and here, the 0, there is 12 inches, 1 foot. Because this is the 1/4. This is the 1/4. We're going to break the 1/4 down into inches now. So that way you can really kind of see what this means, what this represents. And we're going to do the same for these and this as we're doing for this. So you won't be confused. So you'll learn. Remember that the rule of thumb is that you must be able to break this area down here into inches. Into inches. Into inches. Remember, 0 to 6 are feet. 0. So if I put my ruler, architect ruler, on the 0 mark on the edge of a wall or right at the beginning of the wall, and I'm measuring going this way to the wall length, 6 inches, I'm going 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot. It's skipping because it's covering. And it's letting you know this is the 1, this is the 3, this is the 5. It's going in an even number numerical value. Pay attention. Okay? Pay attention. Pay very close attention. 3 inches. How many inches is divided up into 12? You get in between from 0 to 12, which is a foot. 1/4 inch is a foot. That's why the 1/4 here is representing the foot. 3 inch, 6 inch is in the middle. 9 inches. You kind of getting it? You always breaking these down like that. They break down 3, 6, 9. Those are the medium length. So you got the small length, medium, large. Small, medium, large. Small, medium, large, small, medium, large, small, large. When you're breaking that down, remember 3 inches, 6 inches. That's half of a foot, 12 inches. 9 inches. You're only 3 inches away from a foot. 9, 10, 11, 12 represents the 1 foot. So make sure all these you're counting, they have a numerical value in inches. Now let's talk about these babies up here. Not little babies, but the tiny ones that we have here. Now watch this. Now watch how I count this on a quarter of an inch. You're going to get it because of how I'm sharing it with you. The first little one, 1. The second little one, 2. Now we come into the medium, this one here, the medium length one. Remember? Small, medium, large, small, medium, large. So this large is the end for the quarter for the foot. This one is in the middle. Its distance is only going to be matched here, here, here. It's representing the foot. See? This is the same length as these here. This one is too. Except this is 0. You're not counting this. You are actually measuring from here so you get your first foot. Okay, the 0 is always going to be the point of where you get your first foot from. Where you get your first foot from. Now, all of them on here is going to have that 0. It's going to start off with the 0. So don't fret that one is going to be different from the other. No. You'll always see a 0. You'll always see a 0. That is the point of start. Now, when you see B go into here, I suggest that you continue measuring from here till you get to your point of end. And then once you still have extra space left over to continue, then you must start using your inches because now it's broken down into the inches. And this is what's going to give you like your 2'6", your 2'3", your 2'3.5", your 2'4", your 2'5". That's what this is going to do for you. So that you can have an accurate reading when you do read on your scale. Your architect ruler. You want to be accurate when you estimate, when you're on the job. And there's have to be a measurement that needs to be called out. And the framer, maybe he didn't messed up his plans. Okay? He has to go to the job site plan, which what the foreman has. My plans, I try to keep them neat as possible, but they're marked all up with different colors. Why? It's because different colors on blueprints represent different things. I am transferring information from other pages to put on another page, and then I color that, and then it comes with a colored marker that I myself identify with. So if it's hardware, like metal stuff, anchor bolts, foundation stuff, it's in red. If it's lumber, it's going to probably be in yellow. If it's some type of shear panel, it's going to probably be green or pink. Because that color is going to be on a legend telling you what my color code is for what you're looking at. When I show you how I marked up a set of plans, it's going to look crazy. Why? It's because I marked it up. I didn't give it to somebody to mark it up for me. I'm building it. I'm going to teach you how to mark up your set of plans so you'll know how to identify. Some guys don't want their plans marked up. They don't know how to mark up a set of plans. You know what I mean? From structural to your floor plan, you know, because there's some things that you got to identify that you might want to use and be on a floor plan showing a certain part of the house. But then you have hardware that's from what's specifically called out, especially your joist spacing is always going to be on the structural, your header sizes, your door header, your window header, your seals. A lot of structural information is on the structural page. But the floor plan is not going to be completely drawn out to tell you this is the kitchen, this is the dining room. No, your walls are going to be there, but the structural notations are going to be in different various locations. For where your 4x4s are to support beams, or your 4x6s, for your Simpson hardware, it's got to be identified. Your shear panel is going to tell you what size shear, whether it's 3/8 or whether it's 1/2 inch shear panel. These are all measurements that you're going to have to identify with. Starting here will be able to give you it'll give you that push so you'll know what you're looking at. If you hire a contractor, guess what? He's going to be very surprised knowing that you know how to read a scale, you know how to read a measuring tape. When you go and measure his work and he's sick off an inch or 1/2 inch in a room, That's a lot. I've had to where we have pulled a measurement, and you're going to always pull your whole entire span width of your building. You want to cross tape your building. Make sure your building is square. Make sure the length of your building is what it is on the plans. Because if the concrete guy messes up, the forms are not set right, you are in trouble. Especially if you have truss roofs, because they are pre-designed for what the building says on the plans. If he can't get it right in the field, he done messed up the trusses. Trusses cannot be cut on a job. No. Mm-mm. Don't try to rebuild and pulling off gang nails off of it. We're going to get into all that. Pay attention. Let's pay attention now. Okay? We're getting to the heart of it. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is 12 inches in this one little quarter of an inch. By all these little marks here, we went over the 3, the 6, the 9, and the 12. The 3, the 6, the 9, and the 12. All these other little ones in between are the inches that get to those that we just called out. The 3, the 6, the 9, the 12. In between the 3, you have the 1 and the 2. In between the 6 from 3, you have the 4 and the 5. In between the 6 to the 9th, you have the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. Okay? Same with getting to the 12th, the 1 foot mark. So, A has a mark. And this is for you. I want you to get this. I really need you to get this. Okay? For a simple fact that simple fact is that I really want you to see what my board is. I drew all this. It took me time to draw all this up to make it look like what the scale looks like. So I know no cheat sheet. I didn't have nothing that I had to put up here and paste up here. No, this is all freehand drawing from me. And what makes it so special, I had to write all these numbers backwards because of the way my camera is facing. So every number that you see here and every letter has been written backwards. That B was written the right way, but you're going to only see it, and it's not going to be the right way when you see it. So I'm writing backwards. I just caught that B. Sorry for that. Mistakes do happen. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Correction is why it's called correction. Okay, pay attention. Pay attention, class. Okay? We're going to get this, and we're going to get you through this. So that way you'll be able to really master all this down here. All this up here. So we have just did the 1/4 of an inch on example A. Okay, so we broke down this, and I hope you were taking notes, paying attention. And mind you, there was no ruler that I had to space these by. I just identified the spacing with sight and what I seen. So there may be a little bit of gaps in some of them that's bigger than others that you see, but the concept is what you see. Is how you're going to be reading in actual real time. I'm showing you things that you're going to actually read in real time. So we have example on A. We have on my board here, we have 3 problems that needs to be solved. 1, 2, and 3. Each number has measurement. Okay? But which measurement goes where? Okay? So, with that being said, you have to put the letter in the box for this one here, for this one here. Which one of these rulers that's shown here has the measurement to either 1, 2, or 3? You have all the answers here. But which one is A? 1 foot 3. Where is it? Which letter is 1 foot 3? Is it A? Is it B? Or is it C? That's the challenge. I want you to look at the board again, going over the measurements. We're going to do A together. We're going to do all of them together, but I'm breaking them down like I'm breaking them down for you so that you won't be confused, because you see quarter of an inch is going that way. The eighth of an inch will follow, and it will go this way, the opposite direction. And its numbers will be the smaller numbers at the top. The quarter of an inch is being represented by the lower numbers here, okay? So, A, this is what you do. If your wall is here at 0, you're going to count from 0 to where this mark is here. So we can identify, we have 1 foot, we have 2 foot, we have 3 feet automatically. Well, yeah, that's easy. I know where I can see the answer over here already. Okay, but we have to find out these inches here, because evidently A ran through and went past 0. So like I said, what are these here numerically? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So with this one here, that will be 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9. So we have 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. You don't see the 3. And you won't see all the numbers on the scale. You just have to pay attention to knowing how the numerical numbers are flowing. 2, 4, 6. They're skipping a number because it's giving the other number above it a chance. So it's breathing space. So you don't get confused by a bunch of numbers by every space. Just like you see 29 here, 88 here, 84 here. Why? It's because they're giving room. They're giving room for you to count, because every one of these is going to be for the eighth of an inch up above. But the bottom, the reason why it's numbered the way it's numbered is because it's the quarter of an inch and not the eighth of an inch. So we have 3 foot. Let's count it again from the 0. Always try to count from the 0 so you don't have to be confused. This is something that's added. You add this because it's the inches. You're adding the inches after you come up with the foot. The foot is first. Feet come before inches. If there's no feet involved, then it's only inches you're dealing with. See our marks? These are the marks that we put up to identify inches / with the foot. We want you to remember that. So our first answer, and we're going to mark it in red so you can see it. So A, the first is 3'9". $3'9". I hope you can see that. 3'9". Just trying to get him out the way. Moving him out the way so you can really identify. I need to identify, make sure I got my marker right since I'm going the opposite direction. Yes, I am. 3'9". That makes sense? 3'9". I see. It's funny how how I have to write backwards so you can get it. So A is 3'9". So what we want to do is we want to do just like this. I have that's what I want to see. I want to see a letter there. I want to see a letter there. I want to make sure it's not confusing to you when I put this letter A up. Okay. So what should have been done is this right here, because it can be confusing. Could be very confusing, and I want to make sure that it's not confusing, that you can be able to get it. Let's see. Still got to be. Backwards. I'm trying to write backwards, so bear with me. Bear with me. My paperwork here. I want to be able to make sure. So, with A being here, we need to put where 3'9" is. That's going to be where your letter A goes. Okay? That's where your letter is going to go. Letter A is down here. I just need you to help finish the rest when we go over it. So, because these are just numbered, but the letters is basically what you're solving. And each one of these letters, they are equivalent to solving a problem that you need between here. So we got 2 numbers left. Okay, so let's go to B. Now we're finna break down the half-inch scale. The half-inch scale is different from the quarter-inch scale because it has more numbers spaced in between half-inch in terms of more lines. Here we go again. Half-inch is going that direction. So let's start with these. Okay, you got a small, medium, and a large. You have a small, tiny one, line. You have a medium-sized line that's longer. Then you have a longer line, okay? The 0 represents the 1/2 inch. Always the way the scale goes, that 0 goes. The 10 is coming from the opposite direction, so don't let it confuse you. You're following the 1/2 inch. Wherever you see your 1/4 inch, your 1/2 inch, that's the direction you're starting. And it's going to always tell you that length of that 1/2 inch because you're going to see it. And it's going to be equivalent to your 0. This line is going to be equivalent to your 0 and your 2. See, you got 0, but see, here you have 1. You have 1. Then you have 2. You have to count the 10. Even though 10 is represented from the other side, it's still a spacing in between. Because remember I told you, it skips a number. The number is not skipped, it's just not drawn in. So don't get confused because you see 10 here. 10 is not 10 feet. It's a 1/2 inch. From here to the 0, you represent a 1/2. Each one of these, 3, 6, 9. Remember what I told you about counting these? Well, this is a little different here. Why? It's because this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. What's in between the 1 and in between the 2? You have what you would call considered a 1/2 inch. Okay? A 1/2 inch. That's why you have all these lines here. 3, 6, 9, 12. 1/2 inch. There's 12 inches in this 1/2 inch scale to equal a foot. Between the 0 and here is 1 foot because we're dealing with inches here. That's why this marker went way over here, okay? But you have 2 feet. So B is actually telling you you have 2 feet, but it has went beyond the 2 foot mark. It has went into the inches. So you're going to have 2 foot. 2 foot. You got 3, 6, okay? 3 and 6. Let me make sure I got that right. Okay. Oops. I'll show you something. I had to change that number. Forgive me. This baby, little, tiny one is going to be a 1/2 inch. Because in between 1, or let's say before you get to the 1, before that it's going to be a 1/2 inch. So you got 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2. Okay? 1 1/2 before you get to this one here. 2. Then you have 3. It's right next door. 3 is right next door. What's going on is because you have 1 and 2, you have this 3, but you have 1/2 inches dividing in between this. So that way your measurement could be a little bit more accurate when you are measuring something off of the scale. So you're not really guessing, because a 1/2 inch in framing makes a big difference. Big difference, okay? That's like a gap. That's supposed to be, I don't like anything over 1/8 of an inch gap in rough framing. They say when I was coming up, you allowed 1/4 of an inch, you know, and there is some plates or framing where it allow you to, where, you know, 1/4 of an inch. It's not really actually butting. It's short 1/4, but it's framing, so they allow that variance. But when you go 1/2 inch, no. You can actually see that. You know, you can actually see it. So we have 2 feet. Let's count from the 0. 1, 2. Remember one thing. Don't let this 10 right here fool you. Don't let it fool you. Because it skipped this one. Always look for where 2 is. Because it's going to jump straight to 2. You see how it jumped to 2? That's how you can identify where 1 is. See? Skips over. This is 1. This is actually 1. But it jumps over here to get to the 2. And that's what I want you to be able to see. You know, that way you don't get confused. because it does take some time, and you do need to pay attention when it comes to these scales, because it'll cross anybody, and I don't want you to get lost in the shuffle for what we're trying to teach you. And that's why I said scales are a little bit more challenging than a regular ruler. And if you master the ruler, then you can kind of understand how the inches are broken down here, here, here. I'm going to go over some more, because you're not going to just get this right off the bat from this video. I need to produce some more scales that's common to the carpenter, the 3/16. You know what I'm saying? The inch or the 3. We got the 3/4. There's only 3 really scales that carpenter's going to basically go to. Most of the time, when you see the NTS, it is not to a scale. You cannot pull out your scale and try to scale a detailed drawing that's blown up to let you see something that you need to look at in detail on how it looks, like a bathroom, the kitchen. Some of those may not be to scale. You may see cabinets. It may give you height and length. But when it comes to trying to scale the cabinets, you're not going to be able to scale each cabinet on the base or the uppers to say this is what the size of the cabinets are. No, you're not. You got to order those cabinets based on your footage. And cabinets do come at a certain linear foot. You know what I mean? Your 12-inch base cabinets. You're going to have 15-inch base cabinets. You're going to have some 30s, some 36s. You have to determine whether allowed space in your kitchen that's going to suit the cabinet sizes that you do need. You have different depths in cabinets. Some have countertops that's like 22. Then you have some that's 24. That's why. Depending on the brand of cabinet you're buying. You're buying Home Depot cabinets, Lowe's cabinets. Those are standardized cabinets that are milled and made somewhere at a factory. They brought together. Some of them are good. You picking them out of off the shelf. Those are just cabinets that's just, they know they can sell the oaks and you have to stain them yourself. But then they have a cabinetry department that sells cabinets that comes from a cabinet maker, and those cabinets are much more expensive because they're customized. They have the crown molding on them. They have the different various details on them. They have the different shades of cabinet styles in terms of colors, in terms of the style inside the grid of the cabinet doors. They may have some fancy inserts that for cabinet doors. It gets into some complex stuff when you have to order cabinets, especially if you're installing cabinets. You have to really know what you're doing. Let's start right here again. Pay attention. Pay attention. Okay? Because this is a little complex for you. And like I said, every one of these have a numerical value. When I went from the 1, the 2, and the 3, just because this 2 is close to this 1, you're only looking at these little ones on the 1/2 inch scale as a 1/2 inch, basically. The 3/4 is going to be somewhat different than this. Just like the 1/4 inch is different on the inch part of it. The concept is, if I can get you to know where your 3 inch is, your 6 inch is, your 9 inch is, then anything in between, you can kind of figure that out yourself. Because it's just addition. It's just math. It's just counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what you first start off with when you're coming up in kindergarten school, learning your numbers. This is no different from that. I just want you to identify the main part of your scale. I want you to identify from your 0 where your number 3 is, your 3 inches. Where's your 6 inches on the scale? Where is your 9 inch? In between all of those 3, you will be able to figure out what the little ones are if it hits on a part of the plan or what you're scaling. Oh, it didn't land on the 3. Was it a 4? Was it a 2? Was it a 2.5? 1.5? You're going to have to determine that. And that comes from you knowing how to break this down. Everything else can be easy peasy. You see those numbers here? 2, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The rule is simple. That's why A stopped here. It stopped purposely on number 3. 3 feet. 3 feet, 9 inches. 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9. Everything else in between can be calculated in a numerical manner. In between the 9, you have 10, 11, the 2 little ones. 10 and 11. Then you get to your foot 12. Excuse me. Back over to B. B, we have 2 foot. So we went from 0 to 1 to 2. Now let's go to the inches. So since we know this is 2 feet, you can already tell on my board, there's only 3 numbers here. There's only 1 number showing 2 on it. Okay? But I need you to know and understand 6.5 inches. That's what I need you to understand. Where did 6.5 inches come from? The 6.5 inches come from over here. It comes from over here. You're counting back this way. You're not counting from this point here. You're always counting from the 0. Let the 0 be your point of starting point. That has to be, because that's the only way you'll be able to calculate 3, 6, 9, 12. So that way, if it gets to 9, 10, 11, wait, 9. So we have 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. In between is the half. So just like I went here, I have 3. I have 1 and 2. In between 1 and 2 is a ½ inch. Going that way, that way, that way. From 0. I have a ½ inch. 1. I have 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. ½ inch. The first little one is a ½ inch. That's how we can come up with this mark here, because it went straight to 3, 6 and a half. So B is going to be right here. That's B. Okay, as you can see, that's B right here at the top. 2 foot, 6.5 inches. A, we already calculated A and scaled it. It was 3 feet, 9 inches. 3 feet, 9 inches. Excuse me for the pause earlier with the scale, because, like I said, I want to make sure you get this right. I got to get it right for you to get it right. And this is all hand drawn. So I broke down this 1/4 inch in the inch section. I broke down this ½ inch scale in the inch section. Now we got the 3/4 inch within the inch section. We have 47 minutes into this class. And I appreciate all those that are viewing this class. I really hope you're really connecting, with what's going on here. I'm not trying to make it any confusing. I'm just bringing it to you and teaching it to you the way I see it. Of course, you're going to always have somebody that's going to complain. That's going to always say, well, I think you could have did this. You know what? But you ain't up here. you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to teach the younger people something, so they can grasp it. And the females and the women that are out there doing their home improvement projects, so they can learn how to read the scale. Because the women are builders too. I done ran into a few builders. Matter of fact, I worked for some women that were builders. I did. Whether they knew how to build or not, they wanted to know if you knew what you were doing. You got to know what you're doing. So let's do the 3/4 inch. Let's break down. So C, you can already see where the 0 is, and you can already see where the 1 is. And it's skipped. 3/4 actually skipped. So there's nothing in between. It starts right off at the 1. You're going to have another one of these somewhere down here. Okay? But then 2 is going to be down the road again. All right? So we go back to the beginning of 0. We're going this way with the 3/4. We're going this way. So you want to read it. 3, 6, 9, 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. Now, what do our little ones come into play at? Okay? We know that's 3. We know this one is 1, and we know this one is 2. Pretty much the same concept as ½ inch. I just want you to make sure that you read it, and I want you to start always identifying your 3, your 6, your 9, always on the scale. Identify those first, because then you could always count these in between and say, that's 1. So what's this other one before 1? ½ inch. There's nothing going to show you on the scale less than a ½ inch between the 3/4 inch and a ½ inch scale. especially the quarter inch. That's why we're going to get into the other scales. So there's going to be a part 2 of this scale with more scales that I'm going to have to draw out. Hopefully I'll be able to put that video out soon, right after this video. But I want you to identify 3, 6, 9, 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. 1, 2, 3. Half. 1, 1 and a half. 2, 2 and a half. 3, 3 and a half. 4, 4 and a half. 5, 5 and a half. 6, 6 and a half. 7, 7 and a half. 8, 8 and a half. 9, 9 and a half. 10, 10 and a half. 11. Nine, 9 and a half, 10, 10 and a half, 11, 11 and a half, 12. Let's do that one more time. We have time. So C has taken you to 1 foot on the 3/4. 3/4 of an inch. We started from the 0. But since we have went into past the 0, then we have to count those as inches. But we know we have 1 foot. We have 1 foot. So what do we have here in terms of inches? We have 3 inches. 1 foot 3. Easy peasy. C. Easy peasy. I am going to do another video of scales. I need to do another video of scales. I don't feel satisfied that you totally got it. Raise your hand if you didn't get it. Yeah. Was y'all paying attention? Oh my God. Okay. I want you to get it. All right. I want you to get it. So that way, those that come see me after class, so that way I can go over this one-on-one with you. I'm only going to allow another 30 more minutes with you one-on-one. So meet me after class so you can get it. Okay, but right here, the 3/4. We have 1/2 inch, 1, 1 and a half, 2, 2 and a half, 3 inches. That's how we got that. This is how you read these inches. They're not that difficult. Once you get this down, everything else falls into place to reading the scale. But I just want you to be able to identify. You must identify what this is in the inch portion of the scale. Because I could teach you 1. I could teach you the 0, 1, 2. I could teach you. Well, how come you didn't count this as 1? We skipped that one. But this scale is not written out in its totality for 3/4. And I probably would like to do it again, but that's just the way my sheet showed it. But I have other ones that I can do by itself that's going to be longer. Probably 2 long ones that I can go over so you can actually see, you count. I know the 1/4 of an inch, you should be able to get this. It's 6 feet into this. 6 feet. My main thing is, as long as you can identify what the feet are, the scale goes one direction, it also goes in another direction. One direction goes in 2 directions on one top part. There's a bottom part to this triangular scale that you need to understand. You have this top portion that goes this way when I told you in the beginning, and they have a number that goes that way as well. So it's triangular in shape. You can buy it at any type of drafting shop that sells drafting paper. I got drafting tools here that I'm going to share with you also as well if you really want to get into knowing how to draw. If you know how to draw, that means you the master blueprint reading. A lot of guys that do draw are not carpenters. So, I have to explain myself quite a bit from job to job to sometimes the engineer and a lot of times to the architect. And a lot of times the architects are right there and they're writing out their list of corrections that I will show you how they write them out when they walk the job, making sure that the job gets done appropriately. And then they have scheduled meetings every week in the job trailer with all the contractors, all the subs, when it's a big project, when you're building multiple, like multi-family apartment complexes, garden styles, townhomes, if it's just an 8-unit 10 unit, you still, the principles of building is still the same. I just want you to be confident on what you build. I want you to be confident on what you read and how you're reading it, so that way you will be more proficient on the job site. You'll be respected on the job, because it takes work to learn this. This is the beginning stage. It really takes effort. You cannot think that you finna just breeze right on by. I don't want you to go on a job and you practice on the job. No, you pull out a tape at home. You practice tape anything. You know, tape your couch and go through with your family. You know, take the height of the wall to the drywall. Take the kitchen countertop. Take the stove. Don't tape nobody's head. That requires a different type of ruler. Okay, so I just want to say, you know what I'm saying, or nobody's neck. That's when you start getting into sizes of shirts and all that kind of stuff. Man, your neck is 19 inches. 19 inches. Wow, man, how did you come up with that? It's not straight. You have a different type of measuring tape for that. But you will get this concept still the same. Still gonna be read in 1/2 inch, gonna be read in 1/4, 1/2, or 3/4, or the full size. I hope you enjoyed this class. My name is Derek Sills. Here again, we're on scales. We're gonna do another video on scales. Check out my videos from learning how to measure for dummies. You can measure for home improvement, renovation, measure as a carpenter. All the trades gonna need this. You're gonna need it at home when it comes to doing your DIY projects, you know, or your DIY, your do-it-yourself projects, you know, your females. I want you to get more involved in it so you can learn it. A lot of them now are plumbers I see on the job that are women. I see electricians on the job that are women. I have seen some carpenters on the job site as women. I tip my hat off to you. Kudos to you. You're doing a good job. It's a very hard industry out here, and I know you guys are really working hard. You're not a man, but I see some women can put it down, and I tip my hat, and they are physically fit. Physically fit. So safety is always the key, as you see up above. Always want to hard hat. You won't have to have this unless you're working inside with some hazmat stuff, you know. Framing square, you see my credentials on the board. I've been around, you know, a while, you know, been down the road. I want to share and give my knowledge to young people, you know, junior high schoolers, those that are even involved in college. It's never too late to learn, you know, how to measure. People struggle with this, all walks of life, all age groups, because it's fractions of an inch. I hope you enjoyed this class. Continue to follow me, because you haven't seen anything yet. And the classes are going to get, this could be a little bit boring, but it's very important and it is intense. And I want you to get this first. That's why I'm spending so many videos on this, so you can get it. Framing is going to be the same way. Estimating, dealing with numbers, calculating, showing you how to calculate, giving you certain types of formulas for calculating concrete, you know, your materials on your job site. Stay in tune, because the best is yet to come. I hope you all have a good night. I'll see you on the next video. Hey, all those that are ready to come up so you can go over your paperwork, let's do that right now. God bless y'all. Have a good day.